got
your
such a pain in my
autopsy of
chest.
Tylee Ryan, and based upon your education, training, and experience, have you formed an expert opinion concerning the cause of death of Tylee Ryan?
Yes.
What is that cause of death?
I determined the cause of death to be homicide by unspecified.
And homicide by unspecified means, does that have a specific definition?
It does. So homicide by unspecified means that is a term that is or can be used for the cause of death. And the forensic pathologist essentially looked at the totality of the case, the circumstances of the death, the autopsy findings, lack thereof autopsy findings in this case, toxicology, and also based on medical and social records, that the forensic pathologist, which me in this case, feels that the cause of death was by homicide, but I just can't pinpoint exactly what that was.
It's just unthinkable. It's just unthinkable. To really process and understand what happened to these two innocent children, it's horrifying. It's evil. And it's heartbreaking. And from our reporter, Gigi McKelvey, who was in that courthouse, she said it was a very difficult day for the jurors and everyone in that courtroom. And then we heard another bombshell, another devastating bombshell. This audio recording between Lori Vallow Daybell and her surviving son, Colby Ryan. This was recorded while she was in jail after the kids' bodies were found. And Colby doesn't hold anything back. He confronts his mother, but listen very carefully to Lori's reaction.
Lori, newly married, are found in Hawaii. Police in Hawaii served a court order saying Lori had 5 days to physically produce the kids. The newlyweds ignored that deadline.
She's got an end game in her head, and this is not a game, but obviously she thinks it is. For you to shun an order from a court telling you what you need to do.
Police arrested Lori in Hawaii on February 20th, 2020. She was charged with child desertion, obstructing an officer, contempt of court, and solicitation to commit a crime.
You know that you have been charged in the state of Idaho with a number of charges.
At this point, both her kids are still missing. Lori was extradited from Hawaii to Idaho on March 5th.
No way.
KTVB
No way they're alive.
was the only media outlet to get video of.
Children kidnappings usually result in death fairly quick. Not to be bleak, but in this situation, it's a bit different, but also it's mainly because it's like a pedophile and they want to be a pedophile, and they obviously don't want like a witness just to say they're a pedophile. So fucked up.
Lori landing at the Boise airport. From there, she was flown to Rexburg.
Welcome back, Lori. Where are your kids? Tell us where your kids are.
KTVB was there as she made her first court appearance in Idaho on March 6th.
All right.
Her son,
I'm surprised they didn't
Colby
request her to
Ryan,
be
was
dressed
also
differently.
there, along with Kay and Larry Woodcock.
Where are Tylee and JJ? Where are the kids? Where are the kids?
Fast forward to June of 2020, 9 months after JJ and Tylee disappeared. Investigators searched Chad Daybell's Idaho property and found human remains. That's when police arrested him.
God, you're so stupid.
The investigators and detectives have recovered what's believed to be human remains that are not identified at this time.
Rexburg police
Whoa.
later confirmed the remains
Camera
belonged
went
to
crazy.
JJ and Tylee.
I just want you to know I came here for one thing. That's
What the fuck?
Bury it in the yard. There's no way they'll find that. It's not like, oh, they're just the boys' grandparents. Oh, I didn't hear that part. My bad. It's not like the police have a way to, like, I don't know, find remains. That would be crazy, right? No way, right? I mean, it's not like they scan it, it's like dead body, but like there is technology to like scan layers of the earth and be like, something's right there. You know what I mean?
Of 2021.
A Fremont County grand jury indicted the couple on 2 charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. And another first in this case, with Daybell charged with first-degree murder of his late wife, Tammy Daybell.
Members of the grand jury deliberated and determined there is probable cause to believe the Daybells willfully and knowingly conspired to commit several crimes that led to the death of 3 innocent people.
A few weeks later, on June 8th, Lori was deemed not fit to stand trial. The case was paused for nearly a year.
Interesting.
But on June 24th, another grand jury in Arizona indicted Lori on conspiracy to commit murder charges in the death of her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. A trial for those charges won't happen until the conclusion of the trial in Ada County. In April of 2022, Lori is found competent for trial. She was then formally arraigned on murder charges and pled not guilty.
Nice
1 month
motherfucker
later,
dead, dude.
prosecutors said they would pursue the death penalty against Lori. But then, in October of 2022, Judge Stephen Boyce issued a ruling to suspend the trial until Lori's competency could be determined. 1 month later, the judge ruled she was competent to stand trial once again. Then in March of 2023, Judge Boyce ruled Lori and Chad's cases would be severed, meaning they will now be tried separately.
Smart.
Which brings us to today, and Lori's trial in Ada.
Trial proceedings do start tomorrow morning at the Ada County Courthouse.
It's actually really smart because you can actually go at the same case twice, charging 2 different people, and you can use stuff that worked against the second, and also the 2 people can corroborate similarly.
To be clear, court officials say it will start with jury selection. That is expected to last about a week, so it is going to take a while. The entire trial may...
Shocking moments from Doomsday Cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell's murder trial. So far, this was from 3 weeks ago.
Did she ever tell you if JJ was taken over or possessed by an evil spirit?
And she did.
Lori Vallow Daybell's former best friend takes the stand and offers damning testimony against the Doomsday Cult mom, accused of murdering her daughter and son and conspiring to murder the wife of her current husband. I've covered a lot of crime stories over the years, many here at Law and Crime, and it always gets me thinking about ways we can all stay safe. Well, one way you can do that is by trying out Palm Pepper Spray. It's a small but mighty self-defense tool.
Fair.
Palm Pepper Spray
I was about to
shoots
skip
up
it,
to
but
12 feet using the strongest legal form of pepper spray on the market. It's safe and easy. You just point it and spray, and if you want to try it, you can get 10% off. Just log on to palmpepperspray.com and put in the code LAWCRIME10. And remember,
It's actually a
if you or
smart
anyone
sponsor,
else is
so
ever in
I won't skip
danger,
it.
call 911. Welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. I'm Anjanette Levy. Week 1 of test.
This is kind of what I want to go for, by the way. I would love to do more like in-depth dives of specific cases and make it to where the video isn't exactly necessary but interesting, and then like make it also podcast formatable. You know what I mean? So where like this could be uploaded via Spotify, but at the same time, like there's visual on YouTube as well. I think my main parameter is obviously getting research, but that's just going to be effort. So just be ready for whenever there's a Crime Time YouTube channel.
Testimony in the trial of Doomsday Cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell is in the books. And let me tell you, this is one of the strangest, weirdest stories I've ever covered. It's a twisted tale of murder, zombies, and religious extremism. And just in case you haven't been following the case and you're not familiar with it, here's a little recap. Lori Vallow Daybell is accused of murdering her daughter, Tylee Ryan, and her adopted son, JJ Vallow, in September of 2019. JJ was 7 years old and an autistic person. Tylee was just 16 years old. Lori is accused of conspiring with her current husband, Chad Daybell, to murder his late wife, Tammy Daybell, around the same time. A new fact came to light this week in Tammy Daybell's death. We found out in opening statements that an autopsy conducted after her body had been exhumed revealed that she died of asphyxiation. Originally, her death had been deemed due to natural causes from a medical issue, but now they're saying that's not true. The state started its case by calling JJ Vallow's grandmother, Kay Woodcock. She is the sister of Charles Vallow, Lori's 4th husband. who was killed by her brother Alex Cox in July of 2019. Cameras are not allowed in the courtroom, of course, but we're getting the audio at the end of each day. This is what Kay said about Lori's relationship with JJ.
What did you observe in the relationship between Lori and JJ?
She was a doting mom. She was very engaged. She was, I know one time when we went, he was probably a year old, she had a photo album, and she had pictures in it, and she had pictures of me and Larry and other people, and she was reinforcing that we were friends.
Other captions? Oh.
It's pretty strange to hear Kay
Wow.
talk about Lori Vallow in such pleasant terms, calling her a good mother to JJ. Obviously, things changed over the years. If you've been following the case, you'll know that Charles Vallow, her estranged husband back in 2019, had called police early that year, saying that Lori really had gone off the deep end with her religious beliefs and that she believed that he was a zombie. Kay Woodcock testified about the last time she ever had any contact with JJ.
Did you have any other contact with JJ Vallow?
The last FaceTime, the last contact that we ever had with him was on August the 10th of 19.
Jesus.
And that was a 35-second FaceTime. And he, again, was not holding the iPad or the device. He just said, "Hi, Mama. Hi, Papa." And then he looked up as if someone, whoever was holding the device, and he goes, "Gotta go, Mama. Gotta go." How do you say it? "Gotta go, Mama. Gotta go, Papa. Bye." And
Okay.
that was it.
So that was the end of the conversation.
Yes.
So it was a short conversation.
Yes.
And that was the last time you ever had contact with JJ Vallow on August 10th, 2019.
Yes.
Did you attempt to have contact with JJ after that?
Yes.
So it's August of 2019, and JJ was killed in.
Yeah, I could certainly imagine a scenario, not that this is a good thing, but somebody said it already. I could imagine a scenario where, like, I don't mean this disrespectfully, I don't know the proper way to say it, but like the amount that JJ was autistic might have played into her, like, illusion of him being a zombie because of just like the way it can change behavior in people, you know what I mean? I mean, there's just an intense form of it that really like makes behavior different. And so like I support needs. I don't know the nicest way to say it. I don't mean to be weird. I don't know the most respectful way to say it. I guess like where he's on the spectrum at, like if he's on like a high end of it, it could really like, I could totally see, not that it's okay, this fucking idiot ass woman thinking he's possessed, especially if she was some religion ass idiot. You know what I mean? Fuck.
In September, the following month. Now, Kay Woodcock also.
What does it say? Autistic will tend to prefer terms like high masking and low masking, or high support needs or low support needs.
About coming across her late
Great to know.
brother's Amazon account in his email, and she found some messages that were awfully suspicious around the same time.
Yes. I got into the browsing history in the Amazon account, and I saw that there was browsing for a beach wedding dress, a bathing suit, men's large size, I think it was large, white linen top and pants, and malachite wedding rings. And there were a couple other little odd man things, I believe, maybe flip-flops or something.
Was there a date associated with that browsing history you saw?
Yes.
What date was that?
October 2nd,
Of what year?
2019.
Was there a reason that caught your attention?
Yes, because I had learned before that Tammy Daybell had passed away on October the 19th. And this was her looking at wedding rings and wedding stuff.
Kay Woodcock's call to Rexburg, Idaho police in the fall of 2019 really set off the missing persons investigation. She couldn't reach JJ certainly, and she couldn't reach Tyler either. Rexburg Police Detective Ray Ermacillo is the lead detective on the case. He testified about finding human remains on Chad Daybell's property in June 2020 in a cemetery.
Eventually, we uncovered bits and...
Yeah, forget the part where I said the cops have something to find human remains in the ground. He said where to find it. He had a text saying, "Oh, the raccoon in the pet cemetery." Now listen up, guys. Do we think there is a significant difference in the skeletal structure of humans and a raccoon? I'm thinking a slight difference.
Pieces of Tylee, who we assumed was Tylee.
Many have called to me.
Just to, I'm gonna throw some smoke on the trail, guys, and I'm gonna send a text that says immediately where the trail is, but I'm gonna say it's something else. That way they're not suspicious of it.
That had been burned. There were pieces of bone, like I said.
Lights the fire for
flesh.
the trail. What?
Just the best I can describe is just globs of flesh that was falling apart.
And did you keep digging down?
We did.
Did you find anything?
Got that shit, our dragon.
Once we removed some of that, underneath there was another round glob of
easy.
Lead detective police officer attempts to say anything scientific. Yeah, I think it was a glob
flesh,
or like a
bone, all kind of
chunk or
what appeared to be put in a green bucket. Bucket melted, so it was kind of disformed, and the flesh and bone and
nobody vetted him before the trial to say anything less.
Hell
like
yeah,
anything more
Viego's
professional
fucking
than
awful.
glob.
Detective Ermacillo described a gruesome scene. Then he described finding little JJ's body.
eventually all the dirt was removed from the
Good shit, Shen.
small body wrapped in plastic. The body was then photographed, ERT took measurements. The body was eventually removed from the burial site and put into a black body bag. It was locked for evidence purposes, placed in the back corner of the vehicle.
I want to ask you a clarifying question. You're referring to a body. Had you, other than the slit in the head area, you testified correct that this body was in a black plastic bag?
Bro, someone is breathing.
Did you remove any of the other black plastic at that time?
No, it was just, when I testified to that, it was just the shape of a small body.
This testimony was apparently so incredibly upsetting to Lori Vallow Daybell that she asked that her attorneys ask the judge to allow her to skip the rest of the day.
Your Honor, my client wishes to waive her presence at the testimony for the remainder of the day. It was emotional this morning.
Thought it was me.
And she
How dare
indicated to
you?
us she did not want to attend this afternoon. There is a rule that contemplates a defendant waiving their presence. Would ask the court to review that rule and any relevant case law.
Yeah, it's new,
We
dear.
would remind the court of the history of this case with my client, her fragile state of mind, the mental health concerns, the myriad reports that have been filed about her mental health to justify such a request.
Judge
She's
Stephen
numerous.
Boyce denied that request. Now, we know that Lori Vallow Daybell has
Oh.
serious mental health issues. It took 10 months for mental health professionals to restore her to competency so she could go to trial. But we still
Restore
don't
her.
know her exact
No. Oh, I'm good now.
mental health diagnosis. Some of the week's most damning testimony came from a woman named Melanie Gibb. She is the former
Bippity boppity boo, no mental health for you. She's like, oh, I'm suddenly so clear.
best friend of Lori Vallow Daybell.
I've been restored.
Gibb testified that Lori Vallow met Chad Daybell in October of 2018. Gibb described their religious beliefs. Lori and Chad were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh my
Did
God.
Lori ever indicate anything about having a special mission here on Earth? Yes. And what did she tell you
Oh,
about
this
that?
makes so much sense.
She
now.
felt that she was
Oh no, dude.
part of the 144,000.
That's like one of the worst fucking ones ever.
She
No.
felt like they were the head leaders
Let's
of
kill
it.
this motherfucker.
And when you talk about the 144,000, can you explain a little bit about what that would mean?
It's referenced in Scripture and in the Bible and in the Doctrine and Covenants about the 144,000 be here during the return of our Savior, and they would help do a great missionary work throughout the world. They would have a lot of a spiritual endowment from on high.
Gibb also told the jury about how she and the Daybells participated in what they called castings. It was to drive out evil spirits from the bodies of the people that they labeled
It's a TikTok. It's TikTok.
as, quote, dark.
Do you recall if they told you anything, if
We're
they,
Subway
or excuse
Surfers.
me, I say they, do you recall if Lori ever used the term zombie?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately when she used that term?
It wasn't in the beginning, but I would
These
say
people need to distance. Like, they get an audio guy in there.
someone taken over the body, they just started using that terminology. I would just say weeks after that.
By all accounts, jurors seemed to be absolutely stunned by Melanie Gibbs's testimony. Some of their jaws were dropping from what we've been told when the word zombie was actually used. Gibbs said the first time she ever heard Lori describe someone as dark was in early 2019, and she used that word to describe her then husband, Charles Vallow. You'll recall Lori's brother, Alex Cox, shot and killed Charles in the summer of 2019 in Arizona and claimed it was self-defense. Then Gibbs said Lori claimed that JJ was possessed.
Did she ever tell you if JJ was taken over or possessed by an evil spirit?
Yes, she did.
And do you recall approximately when that would have been?
Fuck.
Sorry, September, was it September 2019? Is that when I was? Yeah, yes, September. Yeah,
Fucking
September.
Yasuo.
2019?
Yeah.
Was that the first time you'd heard of JJ being possessed?
Yes.
Gibb also testified about Lori telling her about her intimate relationship with Chad Daybell.
Did Lori indicate whether or not she thought it was okay that they were engaging in intimate relations?
She did. She
cheating?
felt it was
Bruh.
according to God's will.
Bring those captions over here. What? So let me get this straight. She thought that her adulterous relationship was God's will.
Isn't one of the 10 Commandments literally about not committing adultery?
Yes, quite literally. The exact thing. That exact thing is one of the 10 Commandments.
She thought her
Bruh.
was adopted, so yes, she
Crazy
did
people,
this
crazy.
with God's will.
The guy was like, yeah, man, God's telling me plenty. Oh my God, wow. God's will is so cool. I can't believe it.
And did she tell you, ever expand on why she believed it was according to God's will?
Yes. She explained that because they had been married multiple wives and mission together, that it was okay.
The jury then heard a phone call that Melanie Gibbs secretly recorded. This was when Lori and Melanie were speaking by phone after JJ and Tylee had been reported missing.
I don't find it being controversial to me, or if you're recording this conversation for the police or whatever. I don't know what your intention is on this phone call, but with all my heart, and I have forever, and I will always love you. I appreciate those words, but if you really love me,
Better not be recording this.
but I'm not using this because that's not what a friend does. I mean, that just makes me look weird, and it just
married 5
I
times?
do, and I did exactly what I felt the Lord was instructing me to do. And I appreciate you, and I love you. And I will never do anything to harm you. And you can have all of this confirmed to you by the Lord. I know. And my conscience is clear. I feel very understanding what's really going on. And I believe that you have been very deceived by Satan. I believe that he has tricked you.
What the fuck is happening?
I don't believe that what you're doing is correct.
In another part of that phone call, Lori tells Melanie Gibb that she knows where JJ is. This was after he was killed.
Like, and I'm just worried for you because, you know, he's missing, and, you know, I know exactly where he is. He's perfectly fine and healthy. Okay, well, I hope so. I had a scripture I wanted to share with you, if you don't mind. I'd love it.
That's it for this edition of Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. You can listen to and download Sidebar on Apple, Spotify, Google, and wherever else you get your podcast.
All right, this one is 32 minutes. 9 bombshells dropped in Doomsday Cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell trial so far as of 2 days ago.
Got this.
What a month it has been in the Lori Vallow Daybell murder trial. From haunting phone calls to new details surrounding the deaths of 3 people, we break down some of the biggest revelations over the past several weeks. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by On Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. As someone who's been following the Lori Vallow Daybell saga for the past several years, I have to tell you I was really curious to see what would be presented at this Idaho murder trial. And yeah, we have certainly learned a lot. And honestly, it is more disturbing than I could have imagined. This again is the case of the 49-year-old mother charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and grand theft in connection with the deaths of her 2 children, 7-year-old J.J. Vallow, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. But she's also charged with conspiracy to commit murder in the death of 49-year-old Tammy Daybell, the deceased wife of her current husband and co-defendant, Chad Daybell. He's facing similar charges. He's going to be tried separately after all the kids' bodies were found on his property, and he is charged with the murder of Tammy.
He's just going to be found dead in his jail cell if she's guilty, I guarantee you.
Now let's actually start.
That's not a threat, by the way. In Minecraft. Just like the way criminals make decisions based on what's happening around them.
Okay, so one of the biggest revelations, something that we didn't know before this trial.
Goodyear says that he's totally coping, thinking it gets any more shit.
You may recall that when Tammy died back in October of 2019, her death was initially classified as natural. This was based a lot on Chad's version of events that night, that his wife got ill, she suddenly died in her sleep. But when everything happened with JJ and Tylee, her body was exhumed. And during this trial, we learned not only her cause and manner of death, but also what may have happened to her right before she died.
And in conducting the autopsy on Tammy Daybell, did you in fact reach a conclusion as to the cause and manner of death?
Yes, we did.
And what were those?
We determined her cause of death to be the result of asphyxia, and her manner of death to be homicide.
And as you were going through this process with the bruising on Miss Daybell, were you able to make any determination with regard to the age of the bruising?
Hell yeah, we got this fucking all the drakes, got all the rifts. Except one.
Just means you died because you couldn't breathe. Asphyxiation is like the action being done to you, I believe. Asphyxia is the cause, which is lack of oxygen. It just means you died and didn't have oxygen.
Microscope showed only hemorrhage. They were acute injuries.
And would you be able to say if they occurred prior to or after her death?
Most likely prior. Certainly you can inflict bruises on an individual who has recently died. If
but that wouldn't work.
Strike them, drop them, and a number of other things.
You have to do it pretty
but
quick.
Once circulation stops, you tend to not have a lot of accumulation of hemorrhage within the tissue simply because there's no circulation, no blood pressure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. When a body dies, the heart stops working, so the heart can't pump blood to places. Bruises are internal bleeding. So when you get a bruise, it's blood going to that area. And obviously, if a person is dead, the heart isn't able to circulate blood towards that piece of the body to create a bruise for healing purposes, by the way. It looks like that because your body's trying to fix the soreness and the bruise. It's an excess of blood. Like, I mean, he said it perfectly. You'd have to do it pretty quick. It'd be pretty hard to make a bruise happen postpartum just because blood flow stops partum. So.
And so those are the sort of the basic things. She, in addition to having, no anatomical abnormalities, no organ pathology, per se, no pneumonia, no other pathologic process that will explain her death. She did also have some injuries.
Sorry. Yeah, postmortem.
Non-specific blunt injuries. Bruises on her right arm, left on her left
Sorry,
chest.
I'm prepping for the child, guys.
Which were determined to be relatively acute injuries, had happened, within the hours around the time of her death. Would be, by their nature, those types of blunt injuries are not specific. But they are certainly consistent with someone being restrained, and would be consistent with asphyxia as a cause of death as well.
So she died from someone basically suffocating her, and it seems that she was attacked and drained. Was it Chad? Was it Alex Cox, Lori's dead brother, who the evidence has been suggesting is the person that killed the kids? Was it both of them? Well, we know that Chad is charged with the first-degree murder of his wife, Tam, and his suspicious behavior before and after her death, something that we covered in a previous sidebar.
Can anyone be a medical examiner? Because it seems like it. Actually, kind of yes. There's a really good video that Jon Stewart did. I'll find the exact title so you can watch it. It's a really good watch. Not Jon Stewart. Jon Snow. Yeah, it was John Oliver. It's Death Investigations. Death Investigations is a really good clip from John Oliver's show. He basically goes into how it's like actually stupid how easily you can be the medical examiner of your county and how it's gotten like shit like this to be a problem.
Can certainly lead one to the conclusion that he was behind.
Don't make me watch it.
But it's just chilling to think of that for Tammy. She was none the wiser about her husband's affair with Lori, and she.
Can't counties elect a medical examiner? Yes, that's actually what he talks about. And when nobody really runs, you can just be the medical examiner. So,
and then her husband gets married to Lori 2 weeks after. Now, speaking of these new revelations, I will say right now some of the most difficult testimony that we have heard in this case, and there's been a lot, but really I don't think anything compares to what we learned about what happened to JJ and Tylee. Their bodies were found, as I mentioned, on Chad's property. We had ideas.
Yeah, I told you I thought they said both bodies there,
but never really knew exactly what happened. And I warn you right now, this is graphic, and this is very, very here.
Doctor, were you involved in the autopsy of Joshua Jackson?
This is about to be a testimony from the forensic pathologist of the trial describing what he found on the remains of both children in terms of how they died. So if this is something that you really don't want to hear because it can get graphic, I would mute for a bit, probably until this screen is gone, I would imagine.
Vallow.
Yes.
If it's okay with you, I'm going to refer to you as JJ. When were you involved in that autopsy?
On June 11th, 2012.
Where did that
take
place at Ada County Morgue.
Was this the first time you had ever seen JJ Vallow?
Yes.
And approximately how long did that autopsy last?
It took approximately 4 hours.
And did you write a report summarizing your findings from the autopsy?
I did.
Based on that particular autopsy, and based upon your education, training, and experience, have you formed an expert opinion concerning the cause of death of JJ Vallow?
I have.
What was that?
I determined the cause of
Shut
death
the fuck
to be
up.
asphyxia by plastic bag over the head and duct tape covering the mouth. And then there's another segment that's other significant conditions. They put bound with duct tape,
your own child,
bruising in the arms, and abrasion. But ultimately, the cause of death was asphyxia by plastic bag over the head and duct tape over the mouth.
Dr. Warren, based on